So, why study type history? We do it to know how we got to where we are. We want to see what's possible from the revolutions and leaps forward in the past. It's fun, and it makes you feel part of something much more august, much more long lived and important. Our customers know type and design history, and we need to meet them there. And we need to better them there. We need to be a source of typographic knowledge. There are various lenses through which one can view the history of type. There's the geographic lens. Ceramic movable type was used in China, and it was invented in 1040. Wooden and bronze movable type were used in China in the 12th century. Cast metal type was used in Korea in 1234, and we have surviving examples from 1377 in print. And Gutenberg started printing from metal movable types in Germany between 1436 and 1450. The city of Venice became the hub for printing from Roman or Latin-based types in the 15th century. And printing spread throughout Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. Perfection of printing presses and paper manufacture took place throughout Europe and England in the 18th century. Steam-driven presses and refined type-making methods arrived in Europe and America in the early 20th century. Mechanized typesetting via the linotype and monotype machines was pioneered in the eastern U.S. in the late 19th century. We can look at the history of typography through the lens of typographic applications, from books and broadsides to labels and posters, from booklets and almanacs to magazines and newspapers, from catalogs and advertisements to corporate communications, to letterheads and signage and wayfinding, to uniforms and graphics on vehicles, to television advertising and motion graphics for movies and TV programs, to early computer terminals, to computer applications, to the web and websites, to apps and responsive design, to the Internet of Things, to our present digital everything lives. Type has been everywhere. Type is everywhere. We can look at the history of typography through the lens of type as a business, from type founders as printers and publishers, to type founders as suppliers of type to printers, to type designers supplying designs to typesetting machine makers and sellers, to type designers as suppliers to software makers and as software makers themselves, to type designs as licensed software, to licensed libraries of fonts. And there's the lens of type as technology, from hand-cut steel punches that were used to make molds for casting type by hand and for setting and printing by hand, to machine-cut steel punches that were used to make molds for machine-cast setting and machine printing, to hand-drawn type that was photographically reproduced for photo typesetting and printing on offset presses, to digital type for early program typesetting, to PostScript outlines for digital typefaces for use in desktop publishing and laser printers, to web fonts that were designed on screens and for screens, from PostScript Type 1 to TrueType to OpenType to WAF to OpenType Variable. And then, of course, there's the lens of typographic form, from Chinese characters cut in Korea in the 1230s, to the black letter faces that were cut by Johann Gutenberg in Germany in the mid-15th century. From the types of Jensen that were modeled on humanist calligraphy in the late 15th century in Venice, from the Gerald or old-style types cut by 16th century Parisian printer Claude Garamond, to the old-style types cut by William Caslon and Sons in London in the early 18th century. There were the amazing transitional types that were cut by John Baskerville in Birmingham in the mid-18th century. From the modern types cut by Didot in France, and Bedoni in Italy, and Walbaum in Germany at the turn of the 19th century, to the explosion of typographic form in the 19th century, including modified moderns, slab serifs, decorative and decorated display types, and early experimental sans serifs, to the 20th century concept of publicity types, versatile families of type developed by Morris Fuller Benton in America at the start of the 20th century, to the many revival types in Europe and America throughout the 20th century, to the rise of sans serifs and mid-century modernism, to postmodern hybrids in the late 20th century, to the predominance of humanist and geometric types in the first decades of the 21st century. The lenses of typographic history are methods. They're ways of continually learning more about how we arrived at where we are now and where we at Monotype will take typography in the future.